Howdy heretics, my worldly woman is 8 months pregnant, so I thought it would be a good idea to redecorate the kitchen. What could go wrong? So, it's a loving arrangement, but worldly people don't cultivate a spirit of appreciation, especially not when worldly people are pregnant. But I used to be a Jehovah Witness. I'm not a Jehovah Witness. I used to go from door to door because that's how Jehovah Witnesses multiply. But then I met my worldly woman and she tricked me into fornication because that's how worldly people multiply and it's much more fun. So I'm going to be a father in a month and I thought it was a good idea to do this. So I brought this because we can learn some valuable lesson from this book. Because I'm Scandinavian, and in Scandinavia we can sometimes find huge gold treasure or silver treasures. There's actually a place in Sweden, an area in Sweden, a county in Sweden, where you're not allowed to use a metal detector because the chances of finding gold and silver is so big that it made it illegal for a private citizen to walk around with a metal detector. And this island is called Gotland. And it's been in the news because it is a very strategic addition to the NATO alliance. It's the most strategic addition to the NATO alliance after Sweden joined the NATO without my permission. But it's a cool place. But if you find gold and silver, you normally find it inside the house. Because if you think about it, if you're a pirate and you have a shitload of gold, and in the movies they bury it somewhere outside. But back then, shepherds were outside, so someone would see you. I saw Johnson digging in the forest last night. Was it Johnson the plumber? No. Was it Johnson the carpenter? No. It was Johnson the pirate, digging in the forest. Probably nothing. Obviously, you couldn't dig it down in the forest, so people would dig it down in their home. That's why we have this book, because we can learn something from this. This is Akan. See? And he's digging it down, not in the forest, not in the desert, but in his home. Because he had stolen gold and silver that Jehovah had stolen from the people in Jericho. So the people in Jericho, much like Jehovah, they sometimes would sacrifice their children. But instead of sacrificing them to Jehovah, they sacrificed them to other gods. And Jehovah didn't like that. So he thought the best way of saving the children would be to kill the children. And Jehovah was very chatty about the gold, the silver, the copper, and the iron. He told Moses how he should take the gold and silver and copper and iron and give to Jehovah. And when you give to Jehovah, it's very much like giving to Stephen Lett. You give to Stephen Lett, you're giving to Jehovah. But it's Stephen Lett who gets it, or the governing body. Jehovah was not so chatty about how to kill the children. They could miraculously fall asleep and never wake up. But nah, the parents were cut to death in front of the children, and then the children were smashed to pieces. Very painful. But we have to remember that this was all to save the children. God is not so chatty when it comes to children welfare, but it's very important that the gold, the silver, the copper, and the iron go to Jehovah, aka Moses. What can we learn from this? Well, Jehovah God does not like aluminum. There's nothing about aluminum in the Bible, because at that point, humans didn't know about aluminum. But what about lead? They knew about lead. Well, lead is not shiny. Jehovah likes things that are shiny. So, this person, he was kind of an apostate because he stole things that Jehovah had stolen from Jericho. If you grow up a Catholic and you become a Jehovah Witness, you're a Catholic apostate, and Jehovah Witnesses are okay with that. Or if you're a Buddhist and you turn to Jehovah Witness, you're a Buddhist apostate, and Jehovah Witnesses are okay with that. Me too, by the way. But if you grow up as a Jehovah Witness and you want to be something else, like a worldly fornicator, then you're apostate. And apostate is the worst person ever, according to Jehovah Witnesses and my wife. But we can still learn something from this. Jehovah does not like aluminum. What about lead? Doesn't like lead. what about the periodic table? If Jehovah Witnesses really believe, I used to believe, that everyone must believe in the Bible, why didn't God add the periodic table? I ask Christians about that and they say, well, the periodic table wouldn't prove anything because you still need faith. Well, it would prove something. It would prove that Moses was just not a money-grabbing, crazy religious leader. But, you can't have everything in the Bible. If you think about it, there's a lot of stuff in the Bible, and you can't fit the periodic table. Because after all, there's a story about the talking donkey. Imagine if there would not be a story about the talking donkey. Without the story about the talking donkey, no one would trust the Bible and no one would become a Jehovah Witness. So in his wisdom, God did not put a story about the periodic table, but a story about the talking donkey to strengthen our faith. So what can we learn from this? Well, if Jehovah steals something from Jericho, you shouldn't steal it from Jehovah because it belongs to Moses. And this way, when they were going to kill the people in Ai, God, yet again, wasn't chatty. He didn't tell Moses, don't attack them because you have a thief amongst your midst. He said, nothing. So if the story is true, that means that 2,000 Israelites died when attacking the city of Ai, because God, yet again, wasn't chatty. So then, after 2,000 people died, the big story was, is Moses really the faithful and discreet slave? Because we lost, so we need an scapegoat. And according to the story, Jehovah miraculously showed which one of the Jewish soldiers had hidden gold in his tent. And this proved that he was to blame, not Moses. Well, there's a different theory. This is a Jewish army. I'm pretty sure all of them had some gold hidden in their tent. So having them walk past and flip a coin and pick one of them and blame them for something, I'm pretty sure at least half of them had done something wrong, and I'm pretty sure at least half of them had some gold in their tent. So then, when we have proven that the reason why we lost in Ai was not the fault of Moses, then we can attack, because we know the fault was Achan. So what do we do with Achan? Well, he had stolen something that Jehovah had stolen from Jericho, so obviously we need to kill Achan, because capital punishment for theft just makes sense. We also kill his wife, because capital punishment for being married to a criminal makes sense. And they killed his kids, because capital punishment of children makes sense also. Because we need to prove that Moses wasn't a bad military leader. So now when we put the blame on Achan and kill his children, we know that Moses was not a bad general. And we attack Ai again with a new military strategy. So there was nothing wrong with the old military strategy, but this time we win because we have a new strategy. So the reason why we lost the last time was because we had not Jehovah's backing. Now we have Jehovah's backing and a new strategy. Wouldn't it be more faith strengthening if they won with the same strategy? Well, the Bible doesn't tell us that. Anyway, so now, if you're one of my 144,000 subscribers, you know I do these videos without the script. I wish I had the time to sit down and make a script, because there's a lot of fun in this Bible and this book, and not everything makes sense. But if you want to remember something, is that Jehovah don't like aluminum, and we couldn't fit the periodic table in the Bible because there's a story about the talking donkey, and we appreciate how the story about the talking donkey strengthen our faith. See you in paradise.